Hello, my name's Mr. Nicky. If I haven't taught you or met you at school before, I'm an English teacher at the Asian International School, and while we're away from school, I'm going to be doing the online intermediate English classes. While we're learning online, speaking, reading, and writing are all going to be combined within each lesson. So please make sure that you have a notebook and a pen handy for if I ask you to write anything down. And also, if I ask you to pause the video at any point to practice speaking or pronunciation, please make sure you do that. We're going to be working today from the Edge textbook, and we're looking specifically at Unit 7, which is called Making Impressions. So that's page 542. The objectives for today are to be able to define the terms impression and first impression, and understand the verbal and non-verbal communications that help people form first impressions. So if you have a look at page 544, you'll see we have the essential question, what do you do to make an impression? I'm going to read through the text on this page for you. Please follow along in your textbooks if you have it. If not, please listen very carefully and try and take in as much information as you can. Making impressions. People form a first impression in about 4 minutes. First, they notice your eye contact and body language, as well as appearance and clothing. Then they notice how you speak, your tone, how fast you talk, how loudly you speak, and how you pronounce your words. Finally, they listen to what you say. When people listen to you, 7% of what they learn comes from the words you use. 38% of what they learn comes from the sound of your voice. 55% of what they learn comes from your body language and facial expressions. Now then, in a moment, I'm going to ask you to pause the video and open your notebooks and write down a few words that come to mind when you think about these questions. So, what might we be able to tell from the words somebody uses? What might we be able to learn from the sound of somebody's voice? And what might we be able to learn from somebody's body language and facial expression? Now, for this bit, they don't have to be full sentences, just a few words. What do you think we can learn? Okay, pause the video now and write a few things down. Okay, a few things you might have thought of. Words somebody uses. Maybe we can tell their education background, whether they've been to university, if they're using complex terms and structures. We might be able to tell whether they are speaking in their second language, based on whether or not they're using a variety of language. And we might be able to tell out some personality characteristics. Are they funny? Are they serious, sarcastic? All of that we might be able to gauge from the words somebody uses. Secondly, what might we be able to learn from the sound of somebody's voice? The first thing that sprung to mind was where they are from. I'm sure you have different accents based on whether you're from Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh. Just as in the UK, we have different accents depending on whether we're from London, Manchester, Birmingham, or any other city. Secondly, we might be able to tell a little bit about confidence from the sound of somebody's voice. If somebody speaks loudly and slowly, we can probably tell they're quite a confident person. Conversely, if they're quite quiet and timid or speak very fast to try and avoid being heard, maybe we can tell that they're not very confident. Lastly, I put that we might also be able to tell a few lifestyle factors. For example, if somebody smokes and drinks a lot, that's usually something you can hear in the way they speak. And that might be something that's given off in a first encounter. Third, what might we be able to learn from somebody's body language and facial expressions? Again, I think confidence is a big one here. The way people are stood, the way they're holding themselves, definitely tells a lot about confidence. Facial expressions, maybe some people have kind faces, maybe people look scary or strict or hard to approach. Those are all things we can gauge. What people wear, also extremely important. I've put maybe whether somebody is smart or scruffy might give you an idea about what sort of person they are. Okay, there's lots of things we can tell. You may have thought of some other things. That would be great if you have. If not, those are some of my thoughts. If you look at the bottom of the page now, you'll see there's an analyze and discuss section. There's 2 questions in the book. I've separated them out into 3 here for you because I think it's a little bit easier. So the first question is, what can you do to make a positive impression on the people you meet? Second, when is it most important to make a positive impression? And third, how much can you really control what people think of you? This time, I would like you to complete these in full sentences, 1 or 2 sentences for each question, please. So again, pause the video, and once you've done that, we'll resume. Thank you. Okay, moving forward now to page 546, and we've got this drama script called Gone. Now, if you've got the book in front of you, or if you can make it out on the screen, what I'd like you to do is pause the video and read through yourself first. If there are any words you're unsure of, please underline them, and then in a moment I will read it through, and you can listen for that pronunciation and pay particular attention to it. If you need to practice any more, you can also rewind and fast forward the video to spend as long as you want going through that. Okay, I'm going to read through it now for you. So, Gone. Olivia. Do you see that guy over there? Does he look familiar to you? Stacy. Where's the car? Isn't this where we parked? Olivia. Maybe it was on a different level. He looks so familiar. Stacy. No, it was here. I'm sure it was here. Olivia. Press the remote on the key. The alarm will beep. That guy is so cute. Stacy. The key. Where's the key? Olivia, I don't have the key. Olivia. Maybe he's in a band, or what do you mean you don't have the key? Stacy. I left it in the car. I didn't lock the car. The key was in it. Olivia. What? Oh, he's looking this way. Stacy. It's your fault. You kept saying we had to get to the mall because our friends left. Olivia. Oh, it's my fault. Let me refresh your memory. I wasn't driving the car. Hank. Hi, are you having some trouble? Can I help? Stacy. My car. It must have been stolen. I don't know what to do. Hank. Do you have an alarm? I would think security would have heard. Olivia. She didn't set an alarm. She didn't even lock the car. She left the key in it. Hank. Ouch, that doesn't sound good. Olivia. Can you believe she would do that? My name's Olivia, by the way. Stacy. What am I going to do? My parents! What am I going to do? All right, some quite embarrassing acting from me there, but there we go. Hopefully, you're able to understand that script and get the general message. We're going to have a little think now about your first impression of each of the characters. So, I've got these 6 personality traits. Some of them you may be familiar with, some of them may be new to you. I'm going to explain them quickly, and if there are any that you need in more detail, I would suggest just giving it a quick Google. They should all be well described. The first one, level-headed. Level-headed is a term we would use to describe somebody who is calm in a crisis. They're able to think rationally and carefully and find solutions to problems without panicking and going crazy. The second word we've got here is self-absorbed. Self-absorbed is a word we would use to describe somebody who cares more about what's going on with them than with anybody else. It's almost like they don't see the outside world or the problems because they're so busy thinking about themselves and what's best for them. The third word I've put is clumsy. I'm sure everybody has a clumsy friend. A clumsy person is somebody who either forgets things a lot, maybe drops things, trips over, falls over, just generally has quite a lot of little accidents. The fourth word there we've got is helpful. I don't think I need to describe that one for you. The fifth is flirty. Flirty is a word that we would apply to somebody who is quite playful in their personality, but almost suggestive in a kind of romantic sense. If you're interested in a boy or a girl and you want them to know that you're interested in them, you might start acting a little bit flirty, maybe laughing at their jokes or asking them lots of questions would be considered flirty. The last one we've got is stressy. Stressy comes from the word distressed. Whenever somebody is stressed or distressed, they might get a little bit scared. They might be unable to think clearly. They might panic. And these would all be considered stressy. So I hope that was clear. What are your first impressions of the characters in the script? And which character do you think each of these words apply to? Again, I'm going to ask you now to pause the video and write these things down in your notebook. And if you can as well, also maybe give a brief explanation of why you think this is. For example, I think Hank is level-headed because. Okay? If you can do that for each of those, and once you've finished, please resume the video and we'll continue. Okay, these were my answers. I said Hank was level-headed and helpful. Okay, he seemed to not be stressed. He seemed quite relaxed. He was able to think clearly, and he was giving the girls some helpful suggestions. For Olivia, I said she was self-absorbed and flirty. It seemed to me like she wanted to think about what was going on for her. She was more interested in the guys and introducing herself than actually helping her friend Stacy. Okay, the only thing she seemed interested in was making sure that Stacy didn't blame her for the keys going missing. Lastly, Stacy, I put a little bit clumsy, clearly a bit forgetful. She left the keys in the car, and then also stressy. This clearly upset her a lot. She wasn't able to think clearly. She needed other people to suggest what she should do to fix the problem. And you could see by the end, she was really getting quite panicked about what her parents were going to say about the whole situation. Okay, so to review, you should have written answers to a bunch of questions in your notebooks. You should have read through the script out loud, which is practice speaking. And you should be able to tell me now, what is a first impression? You should also be able to tell me what are some examples of non-verbal communication and what can we learn from them? And lastly, you should be able to tell me if you were going to interview for a job, what do you think you could do to ensure you make a good first impression? If you think you can't answer any of those questions, I would suggest going back to the beginning of the presentation and maybe going through it one more time to make sure that you understand this properly. If you're happy that you could answer any of those questions if they were given to you in a writing or in a speaking exam, then that's where we're going to stop for today. Thank you very much for taking part, and I will see you next week. Goodbye.